Welcome to TV3. On this week's episode, we'll be talking about all of the exciting new announcements from both Toy Fair as well as Wonder Festival Winter. I bought some new stuff, and then we'll be rounding out the show with answering some of your questions in the feedback section. Now, before we get started, I should mention that this isn't a comprehensive news coverage of either Toy Fair or Wonder Festival Winter. Truth is, there's just too much stuff to go through, so I only picked out a handful of items that were of interest to me. That said, if there was an item that you wanted my opinion of, feel free to leave it in the comment section below, and I'll address it next week's episode. So let's start things off with Toy Fair, and we're going to go straight to the big one. Hasbro has announced that the next Titan-class Transformer is Titan's Return, Trypticon. Now, if you remember, this was the character that won the fan vote from sometime either last year or the year before that. It was between Omega Supreme, I believe Scorponok, and Trypticon. Trypticon won. Well, the toy is finally here. It's big, it's beefy, and it looks awesome. The robot dinosaur, it looks vicious. The fine detailing and the spaceship mode as well as the base mode both look pretty cool. I'm super excited for it. I totally skipped out on Metroplex and Fortress Maximus, the previous city bots, but Trypticon has always been more of my thing, and I am so hyped to get this. The only thing I will say is that yes, it does look like his tail has been cut off, and that's a bit of it's a small gripe, but nothing that'll really turn me off on the toy. I'm really liking what I see here. The only thing I'm more excited for is what Takara Tomy will do with this mold. I can't wait to see the color scheme and paint apps they apply. It'll definitely cost me an arm and a leg, but I look forward to getting one of these in hand very soon. Next up are a pair of announcements from the company McFarlane Toys. Now, I previously mentioned that McFarlane Toys is one of the toy brands that I'm not really into, so that's why I'm really iffy on these new announcements, but nevertheless, here we go. First up, they have announced a full-on Destiny action figure toy line. Now, I'm not the biggest Destiny fan, but I remember being really into it around the time it came out. I especially got into it during the Taken King, and now I've sort of fallen off, but seeing these toys is almost kind of rekindling that flame, and they look really cool. They're doing a set of 6-inch action figures. These will probably retail for about $20 each. It seems like they have one of each class. There's a Hunter, there's a Titan, there's a Warlock, and they all have some really good detailing to them. Now, I don't know if this is Photoshop, because whenever I see McFarlane Toys in person, they're never this nice to look at, so I have my fingers crossed. They're also doing a larger scale, a 10-inch scale version of Lord Saladin, I believe that's his name, for the Iron Banner sort of quest giver. That's all I know him as. They're doing an Iron Banner themed Sparrow, which looks really neat. And if action figures aren't your thing, they're also doing a roleplay item in the form of the Gallarhorn, and it's going to be about $150, full-on roleplay item, and you know that because it has the orange cap on the tip, which is kind of adorable and kind of hilarious. But yeah, Destiny action figures. You know, I'm a bit iffy because of the company, but that said, these are looking fairly promising. Now, on a related note, McFarlane Toys did announce another set of figures, and these are the ones that I'm going to have trouble resisting. In fact, I'll probably just buy them on site because I love them so much, and that is the Mass Effect Andromeda toy line. They've only shown off 2 figures, and they're the 2 lead characters, the brothers and sisters, the Riders, or I believe their names are. Now, truth be told, these figures kind of look bland and kind of boring, and I'll take that down. Basically, it's the suit design. It's just a black suit with some red highlights, and yeah, it doesn't make for the most interesting design. And again, it's something you're going to have to see in person before really making a final judgment call on, but at the end of the day, I love Mass Effect. Mass Effect is probably my favorite video game series, so it's going to be hard for me not to just immediately buy these on site. I will say these do look a step worse than the Destiny figures, but these are also the ones I'm more inclined to buy just because I love Mass Effect. All right, moving over to Bluefin, the company who is responsible for importing the Tamashii Nations figures to American markets or Western markets. They have shown off the next in their Street Fighter SH Figure Arts lineup, and it is Cammy. And Cammy looks great. It's just a great proto, but she looks fantastic. Now, I was pretty hesitant on getting the Street Fighter SH Figure Arts when they announced Ryu and Chun-Li. I thought they looked good, but I felt like, you know what, I would love to see more characters. I don't want them just to do 2 of the main ones and that's it. And here they showed off Cammy. I mean, I should also mention they showed off Rashid, but to be honest, I'm really only in it for the original Street Fighter 2 cast, and seeing Cammy, that definitely instills confidence in the toy line, and I hope we see more. Cammy looks fantastic. It's the one I'm the most excited for. I love Cammy, and now I'm more inclined to get Ryu and Chun-Li, so it's looking good. I will say I'm probably all in on SH Figuarts Street Fighter stuff now. And the last thing at Toy Fair that I found interesting wasn't actually a toy, but rather just an announcement from Bluefin themselves. And they pretty much just said, hey, guess what? We have got the license to Pacific Rim 2. We will be making toys for Pacific Rim 2. And that's super exciting. I remember when Pacific Rim, the original, came out, I think everybody thought that, hey, you know, it would be great if Bandai Tamashii Nations made toys for Pacific Rim, aka maybe Super Robot Chogokin, Soul Chogokin, you name it, if they could just do something. Unfortunately, we got another company who did the original movie, and mixed results, fair to say. But hey, for Pacific Rim 2, it's Bandai. They're doing it, and I'm super pumped. They have announced they're going to do everything from as low as model kits all the way up to Chogokin releases. Ideally, I would love a Super Robot Chogokin. I would definitely take a Soul of Chogokin. The model kit thing, I don't really find that much interest in. At the end of the day, if I could choose between a model kit or an action figure, I'll always choose the action figure, and if that action figure has that heft of diecast to it, then that's just icing on the cake, or cherry on top of whatever. That expression, you know, I forget. I'm in a rush, okay? Don't judge me. It's pretty exciting that Bandai is doing this, so yeah, I'm pumped for that. Alright, let's take things across the globe over into Wonder Festival Winter. And the way I see it, Wonder Festival has always been the GoodSmile show. So generally, it's where you can see all the newest Figmas or Nendoroids or scale figures that come out of GSC. I mean, to me, it's always been the show that they sort of own, or the ones that they stand out the most in. So this event was no different. There's a lot of Figmas, a lot of Nendoroids, and a lot of scale figures. Of course, there's a lot of other cool things like garage kits and whatnot, but yeah. It is the GoodSmile show, so no better place to start off than with them. I'm going to start off with the Figmas that they have previously announced, but now we have prototypes to see. And we're going to start things off with ones from Portal 2. This is Atlas and Peabody, and all I got to say is, wow, these look gorgeous. I mean, they look incredible. Again, these are Figmas. Remember, these are like 5.5-inch scale type of figures. They're not big, and they just look very intricate and detailed. Parts of them do make me wonder if they're going to be a little dainty or fragile, but regardless, they've nailed the design. It looks incredible. I've yet to play Portal 2. I've only heard great things, but will I be getting these? Maybe. I mean, they look pretty cool. Next up, they showed off Gwendolyn from Odin Sphere. Now, Odin Sphere is a fantastic game. If you like old school side-scroller or JRPG type things, fantastic game. I definitely recommend it. Gwendolyn looks cool. She was the character I enjoyed the most playing as, the fast one. And this figure looks super elaborate and very gorgeous. Those wings have me a little nervous about both, I guess, sort of be cumbersome to pose. Their weight means the figure will probably be restricted to the display stand. And with wings as large and as intricate as that, I expect this is not going to be a very cheap Figma. That said, Figmas nowadays aren't cheap at all to begin with, but I imagine this will be pretty pricey. Continuing on the video game trend, they showed off Figma Gravity Rush's Raven, or I believe it's Gravity Crow in Japan from Gravity Days, and she looks pretty good. I mean, there's not really much else to say on there. If you played Gravity Rush and you liked the character design of Raven, then there you go, she's here. I personally prefer Cat. I think Cat is a cooler design, but I mean, at the end of the day, you're probably going to want both of them because they are the female leads from the game. Speaking of which, I just beat Gravity Rush 1 before recording this video, and if I'm honest, I'm a little less excited for these figures now, just because now that I've played the first game, I thought it was okay, but it wasn't, one of the best things I ever played out there. But nevertheless, these figures look good. Next up in the video game thing is going to be my second favorite series, and that is Persona. This is from Persona 5. This is the main character in his, I believe they call them their thief outfits. Anyways, he looks pretty cool. He's got the mask. He's got the spiffy suit. Looks great. I think, if anything, I'm excited to see this because the game has yet to be released here in North America, and seeing Persona figures before the game comes out only, for me, instills hope that the cast might actually get a good shot at being completed, because with the previous Persona games, 3 and 4, figures never got released until way after, and the cast never got completed. In fact, I believe Persona 3's main character gets released in April, and remember, that game came out all the way back in 2006, so that's that. But yeah, this one looks cool. Super pumped for that. Then they showed off the latest Figma Samus. This is from Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. This is the Samus that is the closest we'll probably ever get to the original power suit from Super Metroid, and you know, a lot of Metroid fans see this and they're super jazzed about it. I am as well. I also have the previous Samus, the one that's from Other M, and I'll totally admit, if you didn't pick up the Other M one, just wait for the new one, because this new Figma Samus just looks like the correct Samus, and it's also the closest Samus you'll get to a Smash Brothers Samus. So I'm sure a lot of people are pumped for this just as much as I am. And then the last of the prototypes that they showed off was the Hunter from Bloodborne. Now, Bloodborne has one of the best video game art styles I've seen in recent years. It is like steampunk Victorian stuff, and it's incredible. This figure is only in gray, but I can only imagine that when it's fully painted up and has all the details assigned to it, it'll look fantastic. It seems to come with the switch saw blade thing. I forget what it's actually called, but I remember I used it for a long time. It's kind of like the not particularly brilliant at anything but good at everything weapon, and yeah, it was useful. I really like the look of this figure, and I loved Bloodborne, so this one's definitely on the list for me. Alright, let's talk about all the new stuff that was announced from GoodSmile, and first up, let's continue on with the video games. They're doing a Figma of the Black Knight from Dark Souls 3. Now, if you remember in a previous episode, I believe it was during the Mythic Legions Kickstarter, I said I wanted an Iron Knight because it reminded me of a Dark Souls character. Yeah, forget it. Doesn't matter anymore. Now that Figma are doing an actual Dark Souls character, that's all I really need. No, it's not the one I made, but hey, it's a real Dark Souls character, and I expect it to look incredible, just like I expect the Bloodborne Hunter to look incredible. Continuing on with video games, the next Persona 5 character was announced, which is super awesome. It is Anne Takamaki in her thieving cat burglar with a dash of sexiness outfit. It's red. Makes her the best character in the game instantly. I'm excited to see this. But again, more than anything, seeing Persona characters being announced and stuff, I mean, as long as we can get a regular announcement of the P5 cast, I will be super pleased with that. Next up, they showed off Figma Red from Pokemon. There's also a Nendoroid Ash Ketchum, but Red's where it's at. Red is the character from the manga series. I still regret not getting the Nendoroid Red, but seeing a Figma Red is even better, so I'm hyped for that. Maybe they'll do a blue. Maybe they'll even do a green. I don't know, but it's exciting to see Pokemon finally get, worthy collector level toys. One that was super popular amongst the circle of friends that I'm with was an announcement for Figma Bubblegum Crisis. Now, I've never seen Bubblegum Crisis, but a lot of people have told me that it's probably right up my alley and that I will love it because it's just about girls, bikes, and robots. And this announcement, I mean, everyone else seems excited for it, so I think I should be excited for it too, right? Seems cool. I don't think this will be a one figure though. I think it'll be a Figma and then an EX ride for the bike, so I can't wait to see what they pump out. Now, I think that is it for all of the new announcements, or the new regular announcements, because there was a big announcement that GoodSmile made, and that is arguably the announcement across both Toy Fair and WonFes that means the most to me, and I better stop stalling. GoodSmile are committed to Overwatch. That's right. So, before the show, GoodSmile announced a Nendoroid of Tracer. Tracer, the sort of mascot character of Overwatch, and it looks adorable. She comes with pulse pistols, she comes with a pulse bomb, and my favorite accessory, she has this fringe piece or a bang that goes over her face, and it's adorable. I've seen a lot of hateful comparisons between this and the pop vinyl, and yeah, of course the Nendoroid looks better. It's $40 more, so what were you expecting? But yeah, no, this looks great. But in addition to this, they've also announced that they're doing both May and Mercy as Nendoroids, and those characters definitely fit the bill for Nendoroids. They definitely look cute in their little sort of small squished aesthetic. Can't wait to see what those turns out. But the thing that I think most people will be most excited for is that they are doing Figmas too. So the first one is, of course, Tracer. Because again, mascot character, how could you not? It's only a piece of artwork, but that's how GoodSmile rolls right now, and I expect that these are going to look great. Now, they're also doing a second Figma, and I think it's pretty obvious. It was a pretty obvious decision. Who else would they go with? It is Genji, the cyborg ninja. I mean, after seeing what they were able to do with, say, Guyver or Ninja Slayer, Genji sort of seemed to fit the bill in terms of what works well on the Figma aesthetic, so that's really cool. Personally, I would have still loved to see, a giant Reinhardt and obviously a D.va, but those are things that are coming down the line. I have no doubt about it, so yeah, I'm so pumped for proper Overwatch collectible merch, and or collectible toys, and then these definitely, you know, I'm excited. I'm gonna go bankrupt getting them all. Will I get all the skins and all the repaints? I'm gonna say no, but it'll probably be a yes. So yeah, I'm super pumped for that. But of course, WonderFest is not just about GoodSmile. There were a couple other neat things that were shown at the show, and I'm just going to go through a few selection. First up, we got a prototype of Aoshima's Valkyrie girl. Now, this was the sort of girl wearing Macross Valkyrie armor, and she's straddling the jet in girl walk mode. I thought the idea was awesome, and well, this prototype looks pretty cool. It's a slow process. I don't think this is anywhere near release, but it's nice to see that the project hasn't been dropped, and I like to see that it's hopefully going to come sometime soon. On a sort of similar note, Kotobukiya announced a new line called Cross Arms. Now, if this sort of sounds familiar, it's because it's a sort of a take on Frame Arms Girl. Now, Frame Arms Girl are essentially just girls wearing the Frame Arms armor. Cross Arms is the same thing, only now they're using licensed robots that are not within Kotobukiya, right? So the first one is Gaogaigar, and this is basically what if Galleon was a girl and decided to wear the Gaogaigar armor, and that's exactly what you got. I think it looks, again, super cool. I don't know why I like these ideas of girls wearing robot pieces that I really like the Valkyrie girl or the Gaogaigar armor, but it's something I find super interesting and appealing, and you can imagine that, yeah, I'll probably definitely pick this up. The only thing is, Kotobukiya kits aren't cheap to begin with, and now that they're using licensed robots, I imagine that Cross Arms is going to be a little more expensive than I would like, but nevertheless, I am excited to see what they turn out. And lastly, of course, I could not talk about WonderFest without talking about my favorite toy company, Sentinel. Now, Sentinel have revealed a couple neat things, and I think the showstopper from Sentinel this year at WonderFest Winter is that they're doing the Mospita ride armor. Now, this is the bike and the rider, and then the bike turns into armor for the rider. Now, if this sort of seems familiar or you kind of recognize it, you'll know it as the ride armor that was used in Robotech Season 3. So that's what this is from. Of course, in Japan, it was a completely different thing. It wasn't related to Robotech or Macross at all, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, no, it looks incredible. I imagine this thing is going to be incredible. It's Sentinel. They always make incredible things. I will say, as much as I like Sentinel toys, I'm not the biggest fan of their humanoid action figures when they make just regular, you know, like SH Figuart or Figma style action figures. I think they're good, but they're not super brilliant. They don't change the game. And because this toy is centered around a core human, that has me a little, not worried, but, you know, I'm going to be cautiously optimistic on it. I imagine they're going to have to make changes to a standard humanoid body in order to incorporate the ride armor, so there's that. But nevertheless, it looks good. And a small other thing from Sentinel I want to mention, this is probably the thing that got me excited the most, was the latest in their Riobot Super Robot line. A little while back, they released Mazen Kaiser, and Mazen Kaiser is a very cool Super Robot, one of the cool Super Robot designs, but I never got it because it was just too expensive, and I didn't like Mazen Kaiser enough. But when it did get released, I did say to myself, you know what, if they did Shin Getter 1, the best Super Robot, there's no way I could pass it up. Well, guess what? They showed off a prototype for Shin Getter 1. And yes, there's no way I can pass this up. I think it looks incredible. Shin Getter 1 is one of my favorite, if not favorite, classic Super Robot. And if Sentinel's going to do it, I'm going to buy it. And I am pumped for that. But those were all the big news stories from Toy Fair and WonderFest that I found interesting. Again, if there was something that I didn't talk about that you'd like my opinion on, feel free to leave it in the comments section below, and I'll get to it in next week's episode. So a couple weeks ago, one of my favorite online hobby shops ran a campaign for a free high-grade Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans display base. And I figured, okay, I'll buy a couple Gundam kits, and I'll get the base, and I'll be happy. Well, that box came in, and time to show you what I got. So first of all, here is the stand, and it's basically just a clear stand. They're all the same, but the thing is, it's randomly chosen which stickers you get. Now, the stickers I got are the Gallarhorn stickers in McGillis colors. It's almost like they knew what I wanted, so I'm super pumped about that. I feel awesome. Of course, the qualifying kit I had to get with it was super cheap, and that was the, I don't know what this is. The SD Build Strike full package? I don't even know if I'm going to build it, but it was the cheapest thing that could get me the stand, so that's that. Also in the box was the high-grade Helmwig Reincar, or Helmwig Reincar, or the sword holder with limbs. I really like the design of this suit. Oh my gosh, is it a shame that it did absolutely nothing in the show? But it looks super cool. It's probably for me this season's Gujian in terms of like, it's probably the kit I like the most because it's super bulky and it does super cool things, and it has a giant sword. But yeah, I have built it. It's a really good kit. I really enjoy it. I think you all should buy it. It's a shame it doesn't do anything else in fictionally speaking, but it's super cool. And then the last thing I got was this. This is the 1/100 Gundam Kimara's Trooper. I think Galileo Bodswin has the best collection of mobile suits throughout all of Gundam Iron Blooded Orphans. I just think all of the stuff that he's had and the colors that they've been in, everything from the original Kimaras all the way up to the current Vidar. I don't know if that's a spoiler, but I mean, it's pretty heavily hinted at who it is. And at the time of this recording, something else was revealed. You all know it as a combination of some of his suits. I'm not going to talk about it here. I'll save it for next week. But yeah, again, they all look super cool. And I just figured, you know what? At some point, I should get this because I really like the high grade. And I told myself I'd buy the 1/100. And it went on sale. And it stuck around in my private warehouse for a while. And I finally decided to ship it. And pumped to build this. All right, time for the feedback section of the show, and the first question comes from Ralph Timothy. What are your thoughts on the new line of play arts? The Bring arts, which I believe have the same scale as Figma's and price range. I looked into this, and yeah, I can't believe I didn't talk about it on the show, but it seems pretty cool. Play Arts Kai are doing a smaller scale of figures. They're definitely more in the 6-inch range. I believe the first one is Sora. It's about $70, and it looks promising. It doesn't look as good as the full-on Play Arts Skyline stuff, but if it's smaller and it means that they don't have to rely on those very heavy-duty ratcheting joints, it means you can get more flexible options for posing, and that excites me. I also prefer smaller 6-inch scale stuff just because Play Arts Kai sits in this weird window of like not quite being big enough for 1/6 but too big for 1/12, and it doesn't really fit in with anything else besides scale statues. So yeah, I'm excited for it. Sora's not something I would probably get just because I don't love Kingdom Hearts as much as I used to in my high school days. I'm kind of out of that phase. But if they did do, say, a character from Final Fantasy that I really enjoyed or loved, like Zidane from FF9, then I could totally be into that. I mean, if they did a whole cast from Final Fantasy IX, I would be into that because Final Fantasy IX is the greatest Final Fantasy. Mark Dell wants to know my thoughts on For Honor, the video game. I played the open beta the week before it came out, and then my cousin, who is also conveniently my neighbor, bought the game, so I've been trying it out there, and I think it's really cool. It's like a smaller, downscaled form of Dynasty Warriors, only it has really complex and methodical combat to it, and I found that very engaging and super appealing. The 3 factions are awesome. I mean, you have the Knights, you have the Samurai, and then you have the Vikings, all of which are super cool. In the full game, you get, the 4th class, and they're all really neat to deal with. It's a game that I think would be something I'd be more into had I not already had my online multiplayer fix in the form of Overwatch, and at the moment, nothing seemed to be able to rip me away from Overwatch. So, but For Honor seems pretty cool. Not a game that I'll probably end up buying on my own or play beyond what I have, but it seems neat. Ahmed asks, are you not building any MG kits anymore? Because I see your Gunpla reviews since 2015 are around HG and RG and 1/100. Well, I would love to do Master Grade reviews, but Bandai has stopped making Master Grades. Nah, I'm just kidding. But Master Grades are this thing for Bandai that have become, I guess, more special to them, and they only do Master Grade releases a couple times of the year, and only with mobile suits that are, I guess, very interesting to them, or what they think is deserving of a Master Grade suit, as opposed to just making everything Master Grade. And unfortunately, all the suits that have been gotten, or that have gotten recent Master Grade releases, just don't appeal to me. I see the Providence, and it's just like, yeah, that's cool. I'm glad everyone's excited for it, but I'm not really the biggest fan of it. I'm not the biggest fan of Seed, and the Thunderbolt ones are neat. I built the MG Thunderbolt, but that was more like I just wanted to get in on the hype with everybody. But after I finished building it, I was kind of like, yeah, well, this is just gonna sit here. So That's okay. And yeah, so like Master Grade recently, they seem to be like the kits to get. They seem way cooler and more interesting than ever before, but at the same time, none of them just appeal to me, and it's a shame. But that's just how things have gone in terms of what Bandai is doing. But like I've mentioned in past views and whatnot, my new favorite thing from 1 to 100 scale is actually these guys right here. I think they are the best bang for your buck and the ones that give me the most joy when building Gundams. Star Force Network asks, what are your thoughts on the recently announced new Macross series coming out next year? Do you think Delta ended well to justify a new series so soon? I'm still hoping for a continuation movie this year at least. Do I think Delta ended well? I don't know if it ended well. I thought Delta's ending was garbage, if you ask me. Was it popular enough? Probably. I'm sure it was. If anything, I think the new series coming out next year is more in line with the fact that it's the franchise's 35th year anniversary. And I guess what better time than the 35th than to do a new series, because the 40th anniversary would probably be too much of a gap to make something new. Regardless, when it comes to new Macross series, I don't want to see anything new anymore. I'm kind of sick of it. I think Macross, Super Dimension Fortress Macross, is one of the greatest anime series of all time, and I think it's something that everyone should watch and experience and see. Everything after that, though, has been sort of hit or miss. Personally, I love Frontier as my favorite Macross, but I'm not going to say that it's, the greatest Macross. That still is SDF. And at this point, Macross, it tries to do so many things. It tries to adapt itself to, recent changes in anime culture and whatnot. And that's why Delta was centered around idol girls. And as fun and entertaining as it was, I feel like we've left the original spirit of what Macross was, and that was the space opera thing, and music. It brought people together because it was because culture was, not a common theme with the aliens in the first series, and now what music is literally weaponized. And they have deep explanations for it. It's like in Metal Gear when Kojima explained fucking nanomachines, and that just ruined the magic behind it. I don't want that anymore. So when it comes to, am I excited for a new Macross series? I don't know. If it's something entirely new, I'll give it a shot and I'll watch it, but I don't know if I'd be excited for that. If anything, what I really want is a remake of the original series, something that I could tell my friends to watch, or something that I could point you to be like, this is a classic, you should check it out, watch it, but not having that stigmatism of, oh, by the way, it's from the 80s, so it's kind of janked in animation and stuff. Because, what I really love is the space opera part of Macross, not necessarily the fighting jets or not necessarily the love triangle or the music. It's just the whole thing together. And if you want a good example of what I'm talking about, check out Space Battleship Yamato 2199. That is probably my favorite remake of classic anime, and I wish Macross would have something similar to that. More anime talk, because the awesome dude wants to know what I think about IBO Season 2 or Iron Blooded Orphans Season 2. Honestly, I think it's been up and down. I kind of hated the first half. The whole arc on Earth, and they dealt with kids that... A whole branch of the thing that didn't matter. It did nothing but fill and waste time. The show was kind of awful to me by that point. It got more interesting when they revealed the mobile armor and everything leading up to where we are now. But, the show has been, it's definitely mixed. The plot has been very sparse, the core plot. To me, I view the plot as what is McGillis planning and how is Tekkadan involved. And for 40 episodes, we've heard McGillis go, I need to uproot Galahorn from within and wipe out all the evil. And he's done that for 40 episodes, and it's just like, when are you going to do something? And so that's been super annoying. Tekkadan is just kind of, going with the flow, not really doing anything, and whatnot. As for the character deaths, they're fine. I don't think they're as meaningful, because the characters they kill off in Gundam are side characters, or the characters that don't matter, or they're characters who actually had their arcs sealed up before they die, so there is no tragedy behind it. You know what? I'm going to spoil a little bit here, okay? Let's look at the two boys in the Earth camp, and one of the boys dies. Guess what? The wrong boy died, because the one who did die, he kind of accepted his death before it happened. He kind of knew what was going to happen. But if it was the other one, the one with the sister, That would have been heartbreaking. Let's move on to Taewaz and their leaders, Naze and his girlfriend. Guess what? Those two accepted their death before it happened, and their entire arc, their purpose of the story was complete. Like, whether they lived or not didn't matter to the overall story. So, might as well kill them. And let's go on to the last one, the heartbreaker, Laughter. You know what the thing about her? She got her goodbye. She went up to Akihiro and said, bye-bye, see you later, and then she died. But could you imagine if it was like, no, she confessed her feelings for him, and that they made a promise or something that they were going to be together after it was done, and then she died? No, the thing with Iron Blood Orphans is the deaths, on the face of it, they seem awful, but the truth is they actually don't matter. And that's how I've felt a lot about this show. A lot of the things that go on in this show don't really matter to the grand scheme of the story, and like, it will continue on and it'll just move along at its pace. It's unfortunate because I was really into season 1, and now I'm just sort of watching the show as I can't wait to see the next new Gundam, and that really upsets me because that makes me like the rest of the Gundam fans who don't actually care about the story. We just want to see the next model kit we're gonna buy, and yeah, that's where I am at with this show. Alright, and that's it for this episode of TV3. It was a bit of a long one, but hopefully you guys stuck it out and enjoyed all the things you saw. Again, anything from Toy Fair or WonderFest that you want me to comment on, leave them in the comment section below, and I'll talk about it next week. Alright guys, I'll see you later.